what a day we've had.
Indeed.
What a day we've had here at your studio in the western suburbs of Melbourne. And let's inform the listener, the viewer, on what we've been doing. So in our hands right now is some of the best of Panama #1 in the varietals category, Laurina.
Yeah,
and it smells good.
Pretty insane.
It smells
coffee.
good. We've had so much coffee today that we had to have the Laurina because it's low caffeine. But so today, Julian and I filmed some content, brewing the best of Panama Laurina, best of Panama #1 natural geisha, and best of Panama #1 washed geisha. So we got to try the whole rainbow today. It's been pretty incredible.
What an honor it was. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, it's excellent. This is a ball of coffee, this Laurina. Like, I think in order of my favorites that I've had today, the washed was #1.
Yeah.
I think this is actually #2.
I think so too.
And then, I'm not saying the natural wasn't a good cup at all, but it just goes to show how masterfully this was made.
Oh, incredible coffee. So clean, yet so expressive and just so delicious.
What's been news with you other than well, hold on. Before I get to that, we'll give Best of Panama a little more love. This morning I woke up at 2:30 a.m.
Wow.
I got up and I recorded a podcast with Rachel from Esmeralda.
Incredible.
Which was, I'm very lucky to have done. I think it was the first one since she won the auction. Since they won the auction.
Incredible.
And oh man, I'm starting to feel it now, but it's kind of cool because I worked real hard to get that interview. Logistically, it was a bit of a challenge. And then, we recorded that as of hitting record on this right now. It's been uploaded. It's now been distributed. So thanks to a big shout out to my editor, Weira, who does an incredible job. So I just
super quick.
turnaround's been really good.
As soon as we finish this, I'm going to go and watch that.
I'm glad. It was a really interesting interview because there's kind of been a little bit of backlash within the industry towards it, which I kind of, it's good to have the discussion, but I think understanding, what's actually going on, like we and you and I were talking about it off air as we were having lunch. It's like we spent so many years wanting coffee producers to get paid, for their work. And mind you, perhaps $30,000 a kilo wasn't what we had in mind, but like I have zero problem with someone getting their bag because they've earned it, and it's not like they negotiated the price. People bid it until it reached that high. So,
and that's the thing. It's a public auction. It's not like they set the price. It's people have gone out of their way to participate in the auction, and then to put a bid on $30,000 for a coffee. Nobody's being forced. Nobody had a gun held to their head. It was completely people willing to do so. And that's absolutely incredible.
And I asked her, so about, what they do for their community. How it's kind of, I hit that too. And I was like,
this is a better expression of this morning.
Yeah.
I know we brewed one this morning. The first coffee, we only had actually one chance to do it.
Yeah. Sorry, for those listening, not watching, just tuning in, we just both took another sip and we're just lifting our eyebrows because damn, this is good.
This is so good.
So this morning we did a video where I hadn't tried any of these coffees until today. So we did a video where we kind of had one shot, one kill, brewing the coffees, and they were all excellent. They were all really good.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And the brewing parameters were all good. That was a pour over expression. This is more of an immersion style coffee. So it's interesting to taste both sides of that. But I think I kind of feel like the immersion is doing a little bit more justice.
Yeah, you brewed this on the Hario switch.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the bigger differences between immersion and just straight up pour over? Like you get a bit more extraction out of this, you taste a bit more of the.
Well, the extraction is a strange one because it's counterintuitive. So yes, coffee is steeping for longer in something like a Hario switch, but the extraction, if you were to measure TDS, it's going to be lower. But the expressions are very different. With with an immersion, you're going to highlight probably more mouthfeel. It's going to be a little bit more textural, a bit more stuff going on. Whereas a pour over coffee, I tend to feel it's always a little bit more clean. And I mean, both of these expressions were very clean, but this slightly more textural, a little bit more immersion, I think allowed this coffee to truly shine compared to the pour over expression we did before, which was also delicious. And I think a lot of people would still gravitate towards that. There's no right or wrong in coffee, of course, but I'm really enjoying this.
No, this is a savage coffee. This is one of the best coffees I've ever had.
Absolutely.
What you've brewed right here, right now. This is I truly mean that. It's just insane. The acidity is just popping out at me.
It really is. Yeah.
Do you think? Let me paint a picture on something for you. So I'm a big time NFL fan. That's American football, and often there'll be the quarterbacks are the ones that get paid the most, and every year they break the record for what's the highest paid contract every year. And they have this term they called resetting the market.
Okay.
So basically one quarterback will get paid X amount. So the benchmark for the next quarterback next year signing an extension is to be paid the same, if not more.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, did the same thing just happen to coffee? Has the market been reset for Panama coffee forever?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like we smashed last year's record of what was it, 13,000. So we've more than doubled that. And I think it might be a trend. I'm not sure if it'll happen every year. But the coffee, I imagine, will only get better over time.
Yeah.
And that's obviously going to fetch higher prices. I think this sort of sets a precedent for the industry. It's a novelty thing for a coffee to become so expensive, but also to own. Well, yes, it might be a bit of a flex in some way, but it's an incredible achievement. I think we are going to see more of it, and I think we are probably going to see more these style coffee auctions taking place.
Yeah,
maybe
I agree.
new ones emerging as well, like with Colombia. I think it was the best of Colombia did not take place this year. Instead, they did sort of localized auctions, like in the Cauca region, Tolima, Huila, which is cool. It's cool to see coffee farmers finally, getting rewarded for their hard work. Some have called it excessive, but they've worked incredibly hard for it, and I think it deserves to be rewarded if people want to pay.
Yeah, just bring that mic a touch closer to you. Beautiful. So it's interesting you say that because one of the talking points was like, well, surely another coffee farm outside of Panama will do this eventually.
Yeah.
And I can think of a bunch off the top of my head.
Totally.
Takesi, any of the Cafe Graha, Mekava, La Palma El Toucan,
Absolutely.
Geisha Village.
For sure.
Just I wonder where it'll happen next, and it's just like. It's the only thing I hope is that it goes to the best set of hands that are going to brew it or roast it. So
absolutely.
I mean, if it's me, I want a Julijan Markovic brewing my my best of Panama number one. So no, you did an exceptional job today. Those coffees were all.
Thank you. And likewise, you brewed the first two coffees that we enjoyed and absolutely remarkable. So yeah,
there's a bit of an art form to brewing, isn't there? Like, I say this word art form, but there's also like technique and science to it as well. Like I was watching the way you poured coffee and, to anyone that's listening at home, the reason why I think this is important is like I'm pouring and then I see your precision pouring and it's like, that flow rate's one of the most underrated things in making a filter coffee. And
it is.
I was watching your flow rate. I'm like, damn, I need to achieve that.
I did notice that difference as well between your pours and my pours. I mean, when it comes to coffee, there are so many variables at play. Yes, it's science. Yes, it's also an art. And just the way you approach it will drastically alter the outcome. You were a little bit more aggressive with your pour. I was really, really gentle. Yes. So trying to just make that coffee come out a little bit more delicate. And I think we managed to achieve that. But coffee's brewing, it's a real interesting thing. It's very therapeutic as well. So I think half the joy in experiencing coffee is not always just in tasting the coffee and drinking the coffee, but a lot of it is in the actual brewing and that therapeutic process of brewing coffee, and then obviously enjoying it afterwards as well. And there's so many factors that influence, I think, what a good coffee experience is made up of.
Yeah, I was messaging someone who I know from high school the other day, and he's a very, very successful influencer and businessman, let's just say.
Right.
And he was saying to me that basically he's not someone that works in the industry, but he does love coffee. He's a big time avid brewer. And he said, I just want people to focus on the ritual.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we're actually coming around to a lot better in coffee these days. Like,
absolutely.
in terms of recognizing what consumers want.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
this is something we're coming to be a lot better at. And it's interesting talking to you about this because you've got a big infatuation and obsession with Japan. And you're describing to me like going to places like Coffee Mamaea and Leaves Coffee Roasters and things like that. And sort of how you want to implement that with some of the things you do here.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Talk us through that. And then at the end of it all, tell us, what is it you want to do with this space, this incredible space that we're in?
Cool. Good question. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do have a bit of an infatuation with Japan. I think, whatever they get their hands on, they kind of turn into gold. But they're very focused on the craft and the experience of things. And coffee is one of those things that can actually be an incredible experience. Yes, it is a commodity, but it can also be, a ritual, as we were just talking about. And I think Japan have really nailed that. Coffee culture in Australia is obviously very different. We're a nation that's, obsessed with coffee. I sometimes think we might be a little bit more obsessed with milk than coffee itself. That's okay. It is what it is. We've got a lot of cafes, some that are doing well, some that, are doing okay. Your cafe, for example, is absolutely nailing it. Every aspect of coffee, the delivery, the quality, the taste and the service. But I think, when it comes to the coffee experience, it differs drastically to what you will experience at home or what you might experience in a cafe. But I took a lot of inspiration from Japan and some of the experiences I had there, like at Coffee Mamaea, where they are so focused on the experience and they look at coffee as a holistic thing. And I just think that's really beautiful. I think, we're in this day and age where we're all really, really connected, but we're also really lonely at the same time. And I think coffee is just an opportunity to really slow down and to appreciate the craft, to appreciate the cup, and just a quiet sort of moment of reflection. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think the Japanese coffee scene focuses on that. They're a lot slower in what they do. There's a lot of drip coffee in cafes, siphons, owned by, one person who runs that business, has had that business for a long time, is super passionate about just making people feel really good when they consume that coffee. And I guess that's kind of what I want to do here. A little bit about the space. It's I've called it the Brew Methods Atelier. A lot of people are like, what is atelier? Isn't that just a fancy word for studio? And it kind of is, it is a French word for studio, but it's a bit more focused around art, kind of like an artist's workshop. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to envisage for this space is for it to feel like you're stepping into an artist's workshop. And I think what we do in coffee is ultimately art. I mean, I think anything can be art, I think you can go for a walk and you can see a beautiful sunset, and that is art. So I really wanted to invoke a certain feeling when people walk in here, to create a certain feeling, hopefully leave an impression, maybe a lasting memory, because I think after you consume a coffee, you're going to look back on that moment and how did it make me feel? And I want people to feel good after they've been in here or after they've had coffee in general, whether at home or in a cafe. But it's a very interesting and dynamic thing.
You were telling me about this experience that you wanted to fulfill with like
Yeah.
I think you were calling it multi-sensory
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, I was breaking down the coffee experience and what makes up a good coffee experience. And the first thing I realized is that it's multi-sensory. I mean, life is a whole expression of senses, basically. And for the most part, we can go to a cafe and you can walk into a very inviting atmosphere, and that's all going to play a part as to how you enjoy that coffee. But I really wanted to push that sensory element of coffee, where we kind of go beyond the cup in an omakase style setting. So omakase is a Japanese word. It sort of translates to, I think it's something along the lines of leave it to the chef. But I wanted to create like a bit of a coffee menu, doing some signature drinks, signature beverages, all with coffee, maybe some cascara and coffee flour. But I also wanted to incorporate other senses into it, like our vision and our hearing. So maybe doing like a light installation or a projection of some sort, taking inspiration from some cinema that I love, like the movie Blade Runner, and the scene where they're in this room and they've got a very yellow light projection which utilizes water caustics to create this ripple effect everywhere, and it's just crazy. And we're just watching the movie. I'm just watching the movie, but I'm so in that scene, if you know what I mean. And that's just a movie, and I kind of want to marry that with coffee, because coffee is so sensory. And then maybe some sound as well, playing some great music, maybe some from the likes of like Ryuichi Sakamoto, who is a Japanese composer, a pianist, but also exploring other realms of music as well. But I really just want to pair, vision, sound to coffee to really elevate the coffee experience.
That all sounds really cool. And I think, some people might think that's excessive, but like it's interesting when comparing, I kind of say that I don't want coffee to become too much like wine, but I think, alcohol in general is having this kind of, the new generation of Gen Z and stuff, statistically, they don't drink as much alcohol.
Yeah.
And so these wineries are starting to feel the financial hit of people not drinking. And then more and more people, like even our age, like you haven't drunk for 2 years, you were telling me the other day. And, I drink very rarely. Like I don't drink much at all. And I think it's becoming less and less, the appeal of it is declining. And this is why I think coffee is becoming more popular.
Absolutely.
Like, same with matcha.
Yeah.
Don't really know what tea's doing these days.
Yeah.
I'm not up to date with the teas, but that's why I think coffee and matcha have become so important. And matcha particularly has this like image of being good for your health. Although if you're ever having a tasty one, just know there's a lot of sugar in it.
Absolutely.
And that like you really do need sugar to bring out the good flavors of matcha. And then with coffee, I think there's a bit of misinformation about there being pesticides in a lot of coffees. Like caffeine itself is a natural pesticide. But yeah, it's that's why I feel like coffee is becoming more and more popular. And that's reflected in the commodity price. $30,000 a goddamn kilo geisha.
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think people want to have these experiences. And as I was kind of saying before, where everything is sort of, we're in that real digital age where people are looking for moments of respite. People are starting to feel more and more nostalgic now. Like, record players are making a comeback. Film cameras are making a huge comeback. So people are starting to miss that organic feeling of just slowing down. And I think it's part of the reason why this style of coffee is becoming so popular and why we're able to smash records, with a $30,000 coffee price. I think that all plays the part.
It was interesting. I was asking Rachel about that this morning and, she was just saying, I think these people did it for marketing, essentially, which is like, if you want to draw attention to yourself after being open for 1 week, that's one hell of a way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I think, I traveled to the UAE where the buyer is based. at the beginning of the year. And I think there's a big misconception about Dubai that everyone's just filthy rich and they drop hundreds of dollars per coffee, because it's not really the case.
Yeah.
And, I've been talking to some local roasters since then. They're like, yeah, it's kind of, not really how all people consume coffee over there. And it's the same with, Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. And, but, obviously there are some people that are splashed with cash and, they're making it.
I mean, there definitely is over there. It's undeniable. It's an emerging country, and they're starting to now, obviously, I think, become a little bit more Western in some of the things they do. They've always been fairly Western. But I think, it's a bit of a flex, but at the same time, it's a justified flex. If it's one way for you to promote your cafe, you've got enough money, why not do it? I'm sure that they're going to do something interesting with that coffee.
It's a really interesting vibe over there, because it's not a democracy. They've got a ruler, but the general population seems to be pretty okay with it. It's not like they're in open revolt. But there is kind of like two classes of people over there, because of course there's the Emiratis, which I think they colloquially refer to as locals. Yeah. And then there's expats, and an Emirat, the minimum wage for an expat versus an Emirati is like crazy. So I think it's like 150,000 is the minimum wage for an Emirati per year. So like if you employ one, which is 10% of the population, mind you,
right?
That's how much they have to pay him,
right?
And for an expat, I think it's like $200 or $300 US a month.
Wow.
So
wow.
But it's interesting. Like there's that dynamic to it, but then you go there and everything's safe. Okay. Like when I went there, like I had lots of camera gear on me, and I went to a party and just kind of left it on the side, and you could just leave it with confidence. Like no one's going to come touch it.
That's nice.
You couldn't do that in Melbourne.
Okay. So sounds like it's kind of like Japan actually, where everyone's very, conscious and respectful, and, they're not going to steal your stuff.
But there's serious consequences over there if you do the wrong thing. If you get busted doing a crime, you're getting deported straight away. And again, 90% of the population over there, expats. So, but transitioning to a bit more coffee stuff now, we were having a really interesting conversation this morning about how, so last night I got asked to do a talk with, about businesses and, how to open and run a cafe somewhat successfully, right? So, I was very, very flattered to be asked. And basically I summarized my thoughts at the end of it. For the general population, I don't recommend opening a coffee shop or starting a coffee business.
Absolutely.
It is incredibly hard. If you're thinking of it as an investment, there's plenty of better, more fruitful investments.
Absolutely.
You don't do this because you want to make money. Yeah. It's incredibly difficult. And you're someone that's been in business kind of grinding it out for as long as I've known you.
A little while. Yeah.
So do you agree? And if so, why?
I 100% agree. I've worked in coffee now for coming up to 15 years. I've had my business now for 4 years, roughly. And, I'm still not working at it full time. Yeah, it's growing slowly, but it's still not a full time for me. For a lot of my career, I was working as a relationship manager for a coffee roaster. I was hands-on with dealing with cafes every day, supplying them with coffee and equipment. I knew exactly who paid their bill and who didn't. And who was always paying their bills late. And the fact is most of them were paying their bills very late. It's a tough gig out there for cafes. A lot of people see it as a bit of a dream job. They think they're going to make all this money. They think coffee's cheap. They think it's one of the, highest profit margins ever. But that is just not the case, especially today with the coffee prices that we've just sort of seen. Yeah, they're sort of starting to stabilize now, but there's not a lot of money to be made in coffee. So unless you do it well, kind of like what you're doing.
Well, there's opportunities.
Opportunities.
But it's
if you're smart about it,
hard.
I think you can do really well. But absolutely, it is a tough gig. And if someone were to ask me, I want to open my cafe, what would you say? I would say, don't do it. I think cafes are more of a lifestyle business than a business. It's something you do out of passion more so. Yeah, you can make some money, but it's very hard to scale a cafe.
It is. And it's, and some people might think we're being very callous. And it's not to say that we're not saying explicitly don't do it. Just, wouldn't recommend it, for your health. And, but again, I love it. And I think the part of it that I like is finding these efficiency gains from, implementing tech, doing things a certain way. And that's part of, I think, what we do well. But even still, like even if we have a good week, it's not like I pay myself pretty much the minimum wage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have done since we opened. And like the other day I got a electricity bill after having a few good weeks. And it's like, damn, that kind of erases all of that.
Yeah.
Like $5,000 for, $5,000 to $6,000 or something for electricity. It's just gone nuts in this country. If you live in any other country, you probably don't pay as much for electricity as we do in Australia. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's you're paying rent, you're paying outgoings, you're paying for coffee, you're paying for milk. If you have a machine, you're paying for the machine, you're paying for the servicing, you're paying your staff to be there. There are so many costs involved, and if you want to do things right by the books, it is very, very difficult. So but like you said, you got to have systems in place. You can be successful with the right, I think, automations and making sure that you're using the correct coffee recipe. You got to make sure that you're splitting shots. You don't want to be giving everyone double shots, otherwise you just won't make any money. So you need to be smart. And I'm not saying be stingy. You still want to, produce a very high quality coffee, and like you do, but you need to be smart about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very hard to come out of the pit.
And I always say there's a difference between an expense and investment. So an expense is something that like doesn't really give you a return, like paying your electricity bill or your waste management, whatever. But buying a machine that increases your efficiency, your output, means you don't have to have as much labor. Like that's an investment.
Absolutely,
you're getting a return on it. I think anyone getting into coffee or anyone getting into any business, should really know that and
should consider that. And, I hear people say, oh, but it's going to, take people's jobs and all this sort of stuff. But it's expensive to run a business. And, people just think business owners make all this money, but they really don't. It's a really hard slog. And it's probably the only way to survive and to start kind of thriving. You just have to do it.
Well, I would rebut that point with, there's more jobs as for baristas available than there are baristas to fill them. And one of the unique issues that Australia has is that it's kind of a destination country, but we're very strict with immigration, who comes in for how long, all that kind of stuff. And so most of the people that want a job in Australia as a barista are actually international students, but you can't employ them for very long. The rules are quite restrictive. And then, if I only have someone for 6 months, it's kind of a problem because
it's hard. Yeah.
They reach the peak of their powers 4 months in and then
they've got to go.
They've got to go.
You spend all this money training them up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I think they can only do 20 hours a week of employment if they're a student.
And mind you, this probably applies to many different countries across the world, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think that's just like a general mandate that our government has instilled. So it's hard.
But where I was going with that is like, in that scenario, you actually, you need it. And, not many baristas really want to stand over with their neck hunched like that, steaming milk. And, even now I'm starting to feel, the effects of putting so many baskets in the portafilter in my wrists and stuff like that. So, all this automation, it's really good.
It's good. People don't realize how physical it is. So we need automation. Absolutely.
You made a good point this morning about the Brewers Cup and how you thought that it'd be good if you did away with the flavor notes section where you're giving, you effectively spend 30 to 40% of your routine telling people what the coffee's going to taste like.
Yeah, I think it's an unrealistic coffee experience, and the Brewers Cup is meant to emulate a real coffee experience. I mean, I have general opinions about the Brewers Cup, and I think it can definitely be improved. But I think if we're going to try and give people a really good coffee experience, I think that part needs to be considered sometimes more than just what we're tasting. For example, I had an amazing experience over at Coffee Mimea. The coffee was delicious. Was it the best coffee I had in my life? No. But I left that place feeling, wow, that was incredible. Well, the service was amazing. It just transports you to another place, even though the coffee wasn't as good. And I think in a competition like the Brewers Cup, where somebody's speaking for 10 minutes and they're delivering a message, I think that plays a huge role in how you feel. For example, my really good friend Carlos Escobar, who recently just placed third in the World Brewers Cup Championship, I've watched every single one of his routines, and he really moves me. And I know he moves a lot of people as well with the way he delivers and the message that he has to say. It's such a beautiful message. And even though you're not tasting that coffee, after watching that presentation, you just feel lifted, you feel inspired, you feel invigorated. And I think that should count for a lot more than just the flavor notes. Sure, the flavor notes are important, but I think spending 3 minutes telling people what a coffee tastes like, it's an absolute waste of time.
No.
You know, give them the quick spiel, put the rest on a piece of paper, and let them do their judging in the back. But let's focus on the experience a bit more. How did you feel after that, rather than, oh, there was no raspberry in there, but there was strawberry. There's a little bit of that wank to it as well, especially when we can't, scientifically quantify whether the flavor is present in coffee, because there's no way to do that unless we look at it at a molecular level. So to say I'm tasting this, you're tasting that is not true. Judges come from all walks of life. We all have different experiences of banana or strawberry, or they taste different to all of us. And, the way we got up out of bed that morning might shape your experience. There's so many things that can shape what you're actually tasting in the cup. So I think we need to put less emphasis on that as far as scoring goes.
I feel like it'd be kind of cool to have an overall competition where like someone, I think Coffee Masters is kind of what I envision, but it's like not sanctioned by, SEA or whatever. But I don't know if they even run Coffee Masters anymore, do they?
I don't even know what Coffee Masters is, to be honest.
Well, let me feel you. So like you do a bit of latte art, you do a bit of brewing, you do a bit of like barista.
Yeah, right.
And I kind of feel like it'd be cool to have an overall competition like
agree
that,
with you.
where, someone, I could never win because I wouldn't be able to nail the latte art, but the latte artist would be the biggest advantage, to be honest.
Yeah, there needs to be a holistic coffee competition. Maybe one for like black coffee, and maybe another one for that incorporates a milk coffee or a signature drink. But I think we need a new coffee competition that is going to be the new standard for coffee. SCA has done it long enough. They haven't changed a thing. It's old, it's outdated, it's not relevant anymore. I don't think they represent specialty coffee anymore. I thought they really did. I mean, who made them the authority anyway? But I think we need to come up with a new competition for people to be involved in.
Well, I mean, I take your point, although I do feel like the competition's grown to a level where it's much more palatable than it ever really has been before. So I think there's been a big breakaway from SCA this year because of the coffee value assessment.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really disenchanted with the organization.
Yeah.
And, fair. But even though it's not perfect, I feel like the competitions have never actually been stronger. Are they relevant to everyday service? I wouldn't go that far, but that's the competition we have, and I'm down for radical rule changes. I really am.
Me too.
If they're willing to do it for something like the CVA, why aren't you willing to do it for the competition? So,
Absolutely agree.
I'm totally down. If there were some more beyond, just getting rid of flavor notes, what would you like to see?
I would like to see blind judging. So I think the people who sit in your presentation shouldn't necessarily be the people that taste your coffee, because there's always going to be a little bit of favoritism.
What about AI judges? AI judges so not tasting the coffee, but if you give it, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Criteria.
Yeah.
And, you feed it to AI that watches your routine and, has its own algorithm or whatever.
I know about AI. I mean, I feel like robots, they what makes us different to robots is the human experience. And if robots lack any emotion, I think it may not be the best way. I mean, ChatGPT is pretty impressive these days. Sometimes I feel like it gets me more than people do.
What do you do on ChatGPT as a coffee professional?
Okay, I use it for a lot of things, honestly. I mean, in my work, I use it to refine my product descriptions, my Instagram captions. I don't copy paste, but I'll get it to spell check. I'll get it to rewrite. My English isn't perfect, so mostly things like that. But I use it to make me recommendations on things. I use it to do my taxes. So it's pretty impressive.
It's interesting. If ever I have a problem with something now, so like I don't use it for writing because, I've been reading some articles saying that ChatGPT can affect your literacy to a certain extent. So I've been doing it for things like this morning. I didn't know how to work a microphone that Rachel was using. So I typed in ChatGPT how to calibrate all this, gave me the instructions perfectly. You can put a document in there and be like, can you format it this way? And it'll make your life easier like that. When I'm researching the podcast, sometimes it doesn't do things really wholly for me, but it speeds up the process. So, to give you an example, I want information on this subject. Can you suggest some articles to me?
Yeah.
And, it definitely speeds up some of the things that I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty full on. I mean, I'll use it to troubleshoot. Like yesterday, I had an issue with the camera. Couldn't figure out why the ISO wasn't changing. So I was like, hey, why can't I change the ISO in video mode on my X-T5? And it's like, oh, because you haven't done this and that. And then, it's quite amazing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And, my business partner uses ChatGPT a lot. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Matt Perger, about this not too long ago. And he was saying that, and this isn't exclusive to him. I think a lot of people have said this, that like one day there'll be like a $2,000 a month version of this tech that will run your business for you. Yeah. Which is kind of like crazy to think about.
It is wild. I think we will get there one day. I think one day we're all going to have a lot more leisure time. We're going to have robots and AI doing a lot of the things that we want to do. But with that, I think we're going to continue to look for more human things in our leisure time.
I say this all the time.
Coffee.
Like in a way, coffee will be one of the biggest beneficiaries of AI.
Yeah.
Because of, I think, in a world where technology is so abundant, in a world where you really don't have scarcity of anything, what will you crave? All your problems can be solved quite easily. But then if you want that human, like we might in 10, 15 years live in a world we don't recognize.
Yeah.
And, or we might be living in a world now that we won't recognize 10 to 15 years from now. But like, what do you do when you reminisce? Like, so like you've got to, I think you were playing records before.
Yeah.
And then, that's to me, it's like, there's just this sort of element of amazement in that. I was thinking about watching a DVD on a big box television, a VCR on a big box television, and like, how you used to have to rewind those and you had to wait.
Exactly.
Whereas now you just go on Netflix and just, everything's so easy. But I don't necessarily feel like we're happy for it because as humans, it's like, you don't really get content with things. I think we often just want more.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, the reality is it is going to take a lot of jobs from people. So it's going to put some people out of work, but at the same time, it's going to make our lives so much easier, hopefully safer. Medicine is probably going to improve. It's going to give us a lot more leisure time. So I think we're still at the forefront of figuring out exactly, AI's place in the world and what the world will look like in 10 to 15 years. And the way AI is evolving at the moment, it's going to look very different, I think. It's an exciting time. It's a bit of a scary time.
Yeah.
We don't know what AI is capable of. Like I've read articles about, ChatGPT would, kill a human before being shut down or something like that. Might not be a real article, but I think they're questions that we should take seriously.
Do you use anything else other than ChatGPT?
No, just ChatGPT.
Because every now and then I use Grok. Grok's pretty good. That's the one
heard
on
of it.
X or formerly Twitter.
Oh, okay.
That's quite powerful. Gemini is Gemini is really interesting for business.
Yeah, right.
I was looking for an email I couldn't find the other day, so I just asked Gemini, "Can you search this out of my inbox?" And it found it straight away.
Yeah,
and I was talking to a friend so he's got his fingers in quite a number of pies, so to speak. He's got a business that's a cafe. He's got a commercial cleaning business, and then like a cleaning business for construction sites. And basically he would use Gemini to do all of his costings for individual things. And it's quite incredible the way you can expedite a lot of your processes that you do in business. So, I mean, if you're considering how can you use AI to speed up or make some things in your life easier, Gemini might be the way.
Yeah, right. Gemini might look into that one.
Yeah. So what is it you do here at Brew Methods?
Yeah.
So we're in your atelier right now. So
so it serves a few functions or fulfills a few purposes. The primary one is to warehouse products, a space for me to store the products. We've got the office upstairs, so it's the primary place of business and dispatch. But downstairs where we are here, I roast coffee in this space. We hold events here. I have a few things on display so people can, should they come for an event, they might be able to buy something while they're here as well. And I do have plans for some coffee classes and workshops down the track as well, and maybe some interesting coffee experiences, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. So.
If you could see on the screen in here, I mean, we made a bit of a mess of it today, but this is an incredibly clean space. You're a clean freak?
I wouldn't say I'm a clean freak, but I like for things to be presented nicely. Yeah,
you've got that nice touch. Like if you go on your website or anything like that, your Instagram, you've got that feel.
Yeah,
like these batches even.
I guess you could say I'm big on design. I think the way we interact with things has a big impact on how you feel about something. Delivery, user experience is huge for me. Being so focused on the coffee experience, I think with everything else that sort of naturally plays a part as well. So branding, packaging, communication of information, I think that's all really important. And they're all things that I'm passionate about and that I enjoy as well.
What do you want to see more of in 5 years from coffee? Like it's 2025, by 2030, what's your vision?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to see a lot of things. I want to see the industry become more sustainable. I want to see coffee producers thriving more. I want to see more specialty coffee, less commercial coffee. I want producers to be paid more for their coffee. I want to see more women in coffee. And I think to do that, we need to start actively employing women and actually giving them the opportunities. I want to see people enjoying more coffee at home. I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's really life enriching. So I hope to see more of that. And I want to see cafes doing better as well, of course. So that might be a bit of a paradox to say.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like cafes actually have a really big role to play in that at-home experience because, I don't think everyone really wholly and solely, like you're predominantly a home brewer, but occasionally you go out to a cafe.
Yeah.
And, you also own a coffee, brewing supplies business.
Yeah.
But, the common man who might have an interest in home brewing needs to go get those supplies somewhere else. You don't always want to go online. So I actually think cafes have a huge role to play in servicing that. And
absolutely.
In a couple of interviews I've done recently, it's like having almost like a supermarket, a physical store for coffee home brewing gear is something that I think would be enormously popular. Like, I'd love to have one day. I can't rule it out. Hopefully I can. I've given this idea away a few times on the podcast now. But if you got a place where you can go and you can test out machines, be guided by an expert, have some beans to take home with you, rather than having to watch 20 videos on YouTube, like I actually reckon that's a good business proposition.
Yeah, it would be very, very cool. Absolutely.
And, like Lance was telling me there was an example of some of a cafe in France or something that was doing it quite well, but I'm talking like a superstore. You've got literally every brewing device ever.
Yeah.
Although these things are, and you were explaining to me before, like sometimes when running a business like this, your cash flow and you're trying to keep everything in stock and meet minimum orders and stuff like that, it's really tough, right?
Absolutely. It's really tough. Importing products from overseas is expensive. You've got to pay taxes, and there's no point just bringing in small quantities because the margins are really, really tough. So when you're placing an order, you want to try and bring in hundreds of units rather than just a handful, and that can get really expensive. Some transactions can be tens of thousands of dollars, and so cash flow is really tough because I might buy 250 Ori brewers, but I won't sell 250 Ori brewers at that same time. And when you've got an inventory, of between 150 to 300 products, trying to keep them all in stock.
Yeah.
So now while you're doing these big splurges and trying to expand your inventory is really hard. It's a battle. And I think I've done all right. The business is growing slowly, but to get this space has cost me a lot. To do the fit out has cost me a lot. And so now half of my stock is out of stock and I haven't had an opportunity to restock. So sales have kind of been down and that's tough. But yeah, it's interesting. And to make it work, I think you need to be really passionate. You just need to see the vision at the end of the tunnel, keep going. I've actually sold my property to finance the expansion of Brew Methods. So that's the reality. It's not easy. I'm still working part-time elsewhere to make ends meet. Going all in, absolutely. So
no, I applaud you. It takes a big set of kahunas to do that. I kind of that's what I've done this year. Doing this podcast, investing in this gear, these microphones, $750 a pop. Again, and I said this on the podcast a few weeks ago, I treat this like a product someone consumes.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it worth it? Is the audio quality good? Does it make you feel comfortable? Is it a good listen? Am I giving people what they want?
Absolutely.
It's all part of it, giving people value.
Absolutely. I mean, you could 100% do this on a budget. You could just get, a $200 mic and, you can use your phone, you can make a podcast. But if you want to make it good, sometimes you need to spend the dollars.
Yeah.
But it's that little detail that you do in your podcasts and your videos and the quality that people appreciate. So yeah, it might be expensive, but I think at the end of the day, it's absolutely worth it. I think, your podcast, you're absolutely killing it, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I was on your podcast 4 or 5 years ago, and I think what you're doing today is, amazing. You've come such a long way. So hats off. You're doing all the right things.
Well, I mean, when you do something for over time, you get better and better at it, right? So when that was happening, I didn't do video at all, and now we do. And I think I just recorded it at home. You came to my house that time, and it was just an interesting time. And then fast forward to today, I got up at 2:30 a.m. this morning to record a podcast, and I'll do any time to make sure I get a guest that's on the other side of the world to,
Absolutely.
That's what you got to do. So,
you got to do it.
So otherwise, the opportunities come flying by and someone else gets them. So, I'm competitive in that regard. But, if you want to help me out, you can subscribe, share, tell a friend. You could buy some Timor. Did I mention that we're sponsored by Timor? Timor Sculptor Grinder sitting right there. We used their scales, their crystallite brewer today, the kettle, the fish kettle. It was all fantastic. Timor.com or visit your local distributor. And there's, I've been jacked up.
Yeah,
jacked up today.
Jacked up. But you're putting in the hard work and it's paying off, mate. Because what you're putting out there is really good. It's, giving people value. So just keep at it.
I will. But look, let's sign off there because I'm absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up and go enjoy the rest of our days. I'm going to the Star Wars cafe and exhibition at the Melbourne Museum today.
Amazing.
And I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Pretty much if you watch this podcast, you would know UFC, American football, Star Wars, Pokemon,
F1, say F1.
and Formula One.
Yeah, baby.
5 favorite like sports and activities outside of F1 is great. I'm a big F1
It's good,
fan.
isn't it?
And you know what? It's great being an Australian F1 fan this year
Yes.
because, you know, our boy Oscar Piastri.
mate, he's absolutely killing it.
Do you think he'll beat Lando?
I think he will.
Yeah.
I think this year he's a better driver. I think
Yeah.
he's an absolute beast.
See, I think like on their best days, Lando's probably faster, but Oscar's more composed, and
Yeah.
you know he handles situations better.
He does.
And he's so stoic.
Yeah,
Like, he just-
exactly.
he-
No emotion.
he seems to compartmentalize quite well.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Yeah.
you know, Lando can get a bit more emotional and be a bit
Yeah.
more erratic. And
He lets it all get to him a little bit. Yeah.
so, but no, F1 season's looking good. I'm really excited for the
It's
end
been a
of it.
good season. And next year is going to be great with Cadillac coming in.
Cadillac
11 teams.
and Audi's taking over a team.
Yeah, Audis
Sauber.
kick Sauber. They're going to kick Sauber out. Did I just say that?
No pun intended. But hey, thanks so much for opening up your space to us today to do this filming. I thought to myself, you know, this place looks sexy. Let's make it happen. And we got to share a pretty incredible experience together.
We really
in
did.
Brewing those coffees and
Special moment.
yeah.
Amazing coffees.
So-
And thanks for the opportunity.
No, thank you. So yeah, it's been wonderful to be here. So if you need some brew gear, you're based in Australia, do you ship to other countries?
Sure do.
So
Worldwide.
brewmethods.com.au.
Yeah.
So brewmethods.com.au if you need some good stuff. I would recommend trying some of their coffees. Absolutely excellent.
Thank
but
you.
we'll sign off there. Hooroo, everyone.